Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It is Boomba right here on your Boom Radio NG. My name is Dolupo, and I bid you a warm welcome to the bar today. Today promises to be a very interesting one, as we're going to be talking about quite a number of things today. It is a lot of politics, and the question will be, one will think that the amount of politics that is going on around at the moment, that elections are around the corner, or presidential elections are around the corner. Apparently they're not, but everybody seems to be declaring who they're voting for, who they're not voting for, is rattling some people's feathers and their replies here and there. And part of those things are things we're going to be talking about today. There's update coming from the devastation that happened in Niger State. It's sad, but we still have to come up with updates with that as well. Quite a number of principal officers are resigned in the Ondo State House of Assembly. They are not in the news a lot. You don't hear them in the news a lot, but apparently this particular one, they seem to be in the news. So we're going to be talking about that a lot today. Bill Gates is coming to Nigeria, and it looks like there's going to be some level of protest in a few days' time. So that and a lot of other things we're going to be talking about today at the bar. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show with me. My name is Dolupo, and with me in the studio, as usual, is Shala Rogers.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to the bar.
Okay, so we're going straight into the show today. And like I said, we're quite a number of things that we're going to be talking about in at the bar today. First things first. This is, I think let's get some form of good news. The federal government is set to train 100,000 artisans and different kind of skills. And why I said is good news is that we're at a point, I would say, in this country that you're either going to school or nobody's going anywhere. That's where the point is. We talked about technical schools and artisanship and all that. Those things are not as common, and whether you like it or not, you realize that a lot of things that you normally find around, they're not so easy to find anymore. Basic stuff like plumbers, even as I can't remember last time I saw someone that fixes clocks or wristwatches. You don't find those things. Before, we grew up with those things, even though when I was growing up, a few of those people that I saw were old people. They were never really young people that wanted to go into it. Now, most of those people are probably dead or really too old, and they never passed on their knowledge to younger ones. So it's such a very, very sad situation. But I like what the federal government is doing if they put a lot of action to it. A few days ago, we had talked about how they had said technical schools, you will not only enjoy free school fees, you would also get paid to go to the schools. Now, the federal government said that they're going to train about 100,000 artisans in the Skill Up Artisan Super Program. And this was, I think, announced by the Industrial Training Fund Director General. They said apparently there's Southwest Secretariat inauguration. The Southwest Secretariat of the Artisans, Association of Nigerian Artisans and Technicians in Akure. This was where he had said this, and I think it's a very interesting thing. Actually, they're talking about artisans like barbers, tailors, mechanics, electrical technicians, amongst others. Those are people that have already, they're hoping to benefit from these program.
This is massive. Like you said, if they follow through, if it's not just the usual sweet talk from politicians, and if they actually follow through. A quick one about the wristwatch repairers and the clock repairers that we used to have on street corners back in the day. Mm-hmm. A few of them, I actually saw them evolve and change from fixing wristwatches to fixing phones. I actually saw one or two of them just evolve into that.
True, that we didn't have those phones then.
Yeah.
True.
So you started seeing them at street corners, and people are taking those phones to them and they're fixing them. and the ones that they can't fix, they take it to the computer village, which is like the hub in Lagos. And there are other types of computer villages across Nigeria now. You know, that came with the advent of technology and mobile telephony. Now, the thing about that also is that a lot of things have happened. We talked about how technology, well, I'm talking about how technology made some of the watch repairers become phone repairers.
Yeah.
Technology made a lot of people stop wearing wristwatches anyway, because everything is on your phone now.
Very true.
And the same way, some of the other skills like, oh, you want to do this and you want to do that, you can do a whole lot on your phone. But technology also brought with it some terrible things like fraud. And that also became, and is still an industry where you hear when people talk about Yahoo.
But there was always fraud though.
I didn't say it was, that there was no fraud. Trying to make a point about how technology brought with it Yahoo. And that is seen as a shortcut to wealth, seen as a shortcut to make money. So you find a lot of people who look at their mates and say, okay, you know what? One set of them are going to school and trying to get an education. And there's another set that is just, the way they get internship to become skilled at fixing cars, phones, and computers is the same way they learn how to scam people. They actually have entire schools. It's just that the schools are not recognized. You know, people actually have hubs where they go to some master somewhere and they even start living with the person at times, and they're learning also. These videos are out there. Several people have been posted on stuff like this. And that took away a large chunk of people who want to work. It took away a lot of the artisans, the people who wanted to work honestly. And if you've been involved in the construction industry in Nigeria in the last 25 years, you will notice that the bulk of the skilled laborers are non-Nigerians.
Not even Nigerians, yeah.
They are from Benin Republic and Togo and all that. And this is a fact. Just go out and check. You will see them. And you also find that too many child labor is happening in that industry also.
Yeah.
Speaking with my mechanic the other day, and he was lamenting how it was hard to get apprentices these days, and that of the 3 that he had, 1 had left to go and learn Yahoo. That he says he wants to make money, that he can't be going under people's cars anymore. And only 2 stayed back, and of the 2, only 1 of them was showing prospects.
Wow.
So we actually do have a serious problem on our hands. The get-rich-quick syndrome, like Dolupo said, there's always been fraud, but it's not like this. It's not this endemic. It's not this pandemic level. Because that's the way I see it. I see it where virtually on every street, there's a time one song became popular. There was a young boy that looked like a skit that said, Mofe Machache. You know, he can barely speak Yoruba or English, and he wants to be a fraudster. Mofe Machache means Mofe Masache. And to sashay on the street slang is to be a scammer. That's what it means. And you listen to a lot. I'm sorry, I'm going to come for a few of our musicians. You listen to a lot of them, and they're constantly glorifying this. It's in the songs that you're dancing to, and you're singing. At times, you're singing along without knowing what they're talking about. That I'm not saying that we shouldn't have feel-good songs. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that there are too many songs glorifying too many bad things. And at times, when these kids look at you, and they look at your social, and again, I keep saying technology, social media, more or less, internet, more or less, they look beyond the artists now, the people that they are role models and they are mentors. All people trying to show off wealth. Everybody needs to show you how they bought. Okay, they won't show you how, no, but they just show you these expensive vehicles. And some people have gone to an apartment to take pictures. Do you know that you can actually rent a plane now?
Oh,
that doesn't even leave the ground. You pay for a couple of hours and take as many pictures as you want. Some people actually go there with a bag load of clothes and make videos and take pictures. And you know, and when they're dropping it, my mind, this guy's flexing. It's all.
You know the funny thing? I know it happens, but in my head I'm like, is it this bad?
Okay, you're looking at it just purely on the periphery. For some people, it's even business for them. For some people, I respect the content creators who are legit, but for some, it's a way of establishing themselves as an authority in their fraud industry also. When this guy is doing good, so people who have deals will take it to you to finish up for them. These are the issues, and these are the things that are happening, and all of this, it stems from me being excited about the fact that if we create a culture of training people who want to work legitimately,
there's a level of training for everybody,
it
from regular university to polytechnics to colleges of education to technical schools to even artisan work. Like basically, that's it. Like we should broaden our knowledge of education. Everybody gets, and the idea that also everybody should also get some level of certification.
Yep.
It's very, very important. No matter how you think that, take for example, we call them regular mechanics, yeah? But I know that you've also been to a few mechanics that are like educated, like really educated, and like they're like proper engineers. Do you understand? There's always a difference. There's always a difference. Half of the times, I think some of these mechanics do a lot of trial and error. Do you understand? There's always a difference when you come. There's no form of so-called work that we do, or that you engage, you engage people in. You will know someone that has a level of education. And like I said, it doesn't have to be university, but going through 4 walls of schooling and getting taught properly does a lot to your skill level. So I'm really, really hoping that this kind of thing actually is not just talk.
Yeah,
it's more
action.
Again,
the beauty of this system that they are building, and I'm assuming that there will be a little bit of formal education involved in it. Another issue that a lot of artisans have now is how to transact business in these modern times. How to write maybe an invoice. As your mechanic, there's not so later written parts for you to go and buy before. If you see the spelling of shock absorber, you go shock.
You'll be shocked. You will need an absorber.
So we'll mix that up with a little bit of formal education. Like I've always pinned for the there's the Igbo system of apprenticeship that I love so much, and I also feel that it should also be helped and refined in a way that more people can still do it the way it is, but gather a bit more, so that they can write letters, write proposals, do their invoicing and receipts and all
properly. Anyway, moving on from that quickly, the presidency has announced that they're ready to pay 2 trillion naira or 4 trillion naira electricity debt. I know this matter has been going on for a couple of months. The electricity generating companies, had announced that they were going on strike at some point, that the federal government was owing about 4 billion naira in debt that they've generated, and they haven't been paid. So now the presidency has announced that half of that money are going to be paid now.
That's a whole lot. Yeah. If you look at the breakdown, 2024 alone, you're talking about 2 trillion being owed. Then there's a 1.9 trillion that's a legacy debt. When there's a legacy, where they put grammar on it, you shall know that it's something that has been running for a while and it's not been paid. The truth is that a lot of us don't want to hear these things. We're still coming from the era, because a lot of people grew up with subsidies, and Nigeria is trying to wean you off subsidy now.
A lot of more like everybody did. Everybody.
Yeah. So Nigeria is trying to wean you off subsidies. Some people are still arguing about how rich Nigeria is, and that's why we shouldn't be asking people to. But I hated the idea. It was a shock for me, having to spend 3-4 times what I used to spend on energy and other things. But coming to terms with it now, it's our reality. You get that industry is going. If you know anybody in that industry, they will tell you the truth that because they are heavily regulated, they cannot fix prices willy-nilly. Now, this is power generation and distribution. Beyond the regulation, the fact that they are regulated, because that started like deregulation, but the fact that they are regulated also means that they have to meet a certain standard all the time. You get the only way that industry can grow. If you look at what's happening in oil and gas now, more people are getting into the industry. More people are planning to build refineries rather than import.
Yeah, because now they know that they can actually get value for their money.
So if you want the power generating and distribution angle of Nigeria's power to be fixed, it has to be like this in a way that people know that they won't be owed, and they can now take their profit and plow it back or run, as the case may be. I hope they don't run. So the truth is, we all need to start sensitizing ourselves. This is the way, this is the future, this is the life. Virtually all the people who have jackpot have found out when they got there. You get, there's no half measures, there's no middle ground. It's the fact that you pay your bills or you get cut off.
You're paying premium.
And they go cut you
off. On Sunday, I was having a conversation with a few people, and someone asked that, how come now that they are on band A, that there's a lot more power, so it means that they could be generating more power? I said, now you're paying for it.
Yeah,
it's simple. You can pay for it so they can provide more power for you. It's simple and short. There's no hard and fast.
I'm about to jinx it. I'm going to jinx it, but I'll still say it. When was the last time you heard of a grid collapse? I start counting. It will happen any moment now. I've said it. But I'm just saying again that in doing this also, it shows that we can eventually move away from a central grid system, Hopefully everybody will get it right. But people, if you are one of the people who are on postpaid and you're owing, please try and pay up your debts, especially government and their parastatals.
They are probably the ones that are on postpaid. Most people.
Now then they will pass.
Now them, they say we are government. No, at this point now, nope. Everybody is on their own. Anyway, moving on from that.
And if you know anybody that is a co-owner or an investor in a Genco, anywhere you see them from the end of this month, build them.
As they are
2 trillion is not a small money now.
Okay. Anyway, moving on from that quickly, Bill Gates is set to visit Nigeria. He's coming for some event in Nigeria, and he's set to meet President Tinubu. It seems the president had really planned his journey to Lagos. The man still seems to be having a lot of meetings, doing a lot of things in Lagos. Shout out to Ikoyi people. It's a lot of I think it's going to be around till next week, so the president is not going anywhere anytime soon. But anyway, Bill Gates is coming back to Nigeria again. It's not the first time he's in Nigeria. I just wanted to put that out there. Also, the Nigerian Air Force has announced that they neutralized about 20 terrorists in Zamfara state. Also, an update is that the commissioner in Niger State has now announced that the death toll of the Mokwa flood has risen to over 200. Our thoughts and prayers are with people of Niger State. Now let's move on from that and let's do a little bit of politics. And you know that for a couple of days now, a lot of I don't even know where to put some people, because last I checked, take for example, Mr. Amaechi is still in the APC. Abi? So we can't call him opposition, or can you say he's opposition?
He is opposition.
Anyway, the APC have now criticized Atiku, Rotimi Amaechi, and Nasir El-Rufai, and saying that because one thing they keep saying is that the president is not doing well, is weaponizing poverty and all that. The APC have now said that these people are only just desperate for power.
Interesting. What a revelation. Who would have thought? I didn't even cross my mind. I think they were doing it because that's what they do. That's their job. Of course, they're in it for power. What a waste of headline. It's obvious now. If didn't you guys do the same thing when you were in opposition? You did the same thing now. You know, when Obasanjo more or less had a free ride to a large extent. Yar'Adua wasn't really with us because of his condition. But who was next? Was Jonathan. You hear him now. Opposition showed that man Pepe, and he also did his own too. Jonathan, people keep talking about Jonathan was not a pushover. I don't know why people keep talking stuff. He tried, he did his own bit too. But it's politics, politics, governance. They're supposed to go hand in hand, but they usually don't. They don't mix as much as we always say. You need politics to get into government. But
yeah, but
at the end of the day, politics should not be the main.
This one seems to be a lot. It started way earlier than. They have to. They have to start early.
But
also, I'm not saying they shouldn't start early, but especially people that moved from the APC. Aren't you showing your hand too quickly?
They have to. They have bigger plans, but they have to start now. It's like someone has to bail the cat.
Like what I'm saying is, the man already now knows his enemies.
He's always known.
Isn't it better to now? I'm just saying, isn't it easier for him to prepare now?
Okay, so of this major protagonist or the people who are the new opposition, mention their names. The only person that seemed not to be openly antagonistic was Nasir El-Rufai. Because then, as of 2022, speaking all the things he said, he was a serving governor in the APC. But the results from his state says otherwise. You look at what did Tinubu get in Kaduna when El-Rufai was there as governor? What did Atiku get? And the same man comes out to say he's always been with Atiku. Atiku is his mentor, is his oga. Do you understand? It's Tinubu that was begging. We saw the video where he was begging him, you have to be a part of my government. Do you understand? So if you look at it and balance it, it's always been like that.
It's always been like that.
Rotimi Amaechi, founding member of APC, serving minister of the federal government, tried to be president, went head-to-head with Tinubu at the primaries, came second. Go and check the results of the presidential election in Rivers State and let Amaechi come out and say, of this number of votes, I made this happen for you. It didn't. And of course, the obvious one, Abubakar Atiku. Abubakar Atiku was the person that Tinubu contested against directly. Atiku was APC, PDP. Tinubu is APC. And there was Obi in the mix. So at the end of the day, you look at all of these things and you come to the conclusion that they were never in support. So, if you were expecting them to support, you're just fooling yourself. If you're a serious politician, you know who worked for you and who didn't. The other name that they've been touting in the Southwest, look, it never supported him too. So, a serious politician knows how to neutralize this. And I think that's what the APC has been doing by getting those blocks and all the other people on the other side that for every APC person that wants to leave or that has left, they're getting 1, 2, or 3 in return. Replace. It's all politics, it's all permutations, it's all plus or minus. But yes, the APC can say that they're desperate for power. Everybody is. Even you, the APC, you need to be desperate for power to stay in power too. And the truth is, you might have what they say is an advantage, but it might turn out to be a disadvantage if you don't use it well. And the using I mean is that Nigerians are getting better now at politics, especially the non-card carrying members. They want to see performance, they want to see results. And that's where you get it right or wrong. Okay,
so we'll see. We'll see what is happening there. However, another person that has now criticized these people is Shehu Sani. Shehu Sani is saying that El-Rufai and Amaechi hypocritical in their criticisms of President Tinubu.
Why would you say that?
So it's kind of alluding to the fact that they're only criticizing him because they didn't get what they want.
A lot of people have been saying that, though. A lot of people have been saying that. Is that all?
Basically, that's kind of it. You know that, first things first, when I saw it, especially with El-Rufai, this man, and it's obvious he has made it clear, even when he left the APC, that he is not, he and El-Rufai are not besties.
No, they had a falling out a few years ago, and it doesn't look like they're about to mend fences.
Yeah, so basically what he's saying that all this their drama is hypocrisy and selfish political motives, and it's really not about the people, and that they have no moral ground to criticize the current administration. As according to him, he said that as former governors who have been in power, who had executive powers, what did you do that was so great in your own time?
Something that we always point here all the time, you get, and something that actually drives me crazy. It's actually very sensible to look at it from that perspective. It's funny how people seem to have ideas when they've left government, when they're no longer in power, because it's you coming to tell us this is the solution. But we look back and say, you had 8 years. Why didn't you do it then?
One of they're both governors for 8 years.
Yeah. And they were both ministers too in the past.
Yeah.
You get. So they have all that level of experience and exposure. And okay, maybe that's what they used to tell you, that that's why they are criticizing and all of that. You get. But again, we need to ask them the very, very simple questions like, if you were the president, what would you have done differently? And how would you have done it differently? If you get to win, are you going to reverse everything that has been done? You know?
And that's a conversation everybody, because I remember, I know that we had talked about it. In 2023, one of the major things that everybody was talking about was subsidy removal. I remember Peter Obi was very vehement and saying that subsidy was a thief, that people are just using it to siphon money and all, and blah blah blah. Everybody wanted subsidy removal. So my question most of the time is that now that you complain about the subsidy removal or the effects of subsidy removal, let me put it like that, did you just use that to campaign? Is it that you really did not want to go ahead with the subsidy, or it was just bandwagon conversation that everybody had, which means that if that's the case, it means that you really didn't have a plan. It was just gist that was going around and you decided to jump on it. But what was because now in those criticisms about the federal government policies, which I'm not even saying that they're good or bad, I'm saying that I've really not seen anyone's, what's the word now, concrete plan to how I would have done it differently. Yes, you say, people are hungry because of the federal government policies. We get that. People and things are expensive. Inflation is gone sky high. If you were the president, which you had campaigned and said you were going to remove fuel subsidy as usual. I remember even the issue of having multiple exchange rates, which came about with the floating of the naira. There was things that all these people, everybody had campaigned with, that is wrong. And my question all the time is, and I don't have a problem with saying that what the federal government or the Tinubu administration is doing is bad. Can we have, what would you have done differently? Everybody has something to say that is not good. However, what would you have done differently?
That's why I raised that thing, because we actually need to move away from rhetorics at times and actually look at brass tacks and understand that, okay, this is the criticism. What's the solution? What could have been? But if you are not bringing that, it starts to sound funny.
Yeah, because you're just looking for something to talk about. And the truth is that whether we like it or not, yes, people will listen. Some people will listen to you, but we're also getting more intelligent voters now. People are asking questions. Now, quite a number of people that are asking questions. Do you understand? I remember there was, I don't know if it was what was an event or something that Mr. Peter Obi had gone to, and there were people there there were not a lot of people, but I would say that there were quite a lot of intelligent questions that were being asked. Everybody's just not going to sit down and just be clapping and be smiling anymore. People want to know.
Yeah, like the guy that was asking him about the crisis in his party and why he's
if
not
you've
been
not
able to resolve
sorted
it.
the issue in your party, how would you solve Nigeria's problem? Okay, so it means that, and then you said it was the federal government. So now it means that if tomorrow now you become the president and Nigeria has issues, what will you say? Oh, it's the US that caused it.
You know,
on.
I at this point, you know, we're more concerned about Nigeria, and we're able to praise and criticize, and that's the beauty of where we stand here at the bar. We're able to praise and criticize anybody and everybody, and I think that's the best way to do it, and that's the best way to go. And yesterday, 30 cents is a statistic company, you know, have this Twitter, and they were putting out stuff. And late last night, they came up with something that goes this way. If you invested 1 million naira on the 30th of May 2023, the reason why 30th of May 2023 is important is that's when
exactly 1 year
Tinubu came into power. That's the day he came into power, you know. And we're there, and it's 2 years now from that day. 2 years and 3 days, or 4 days. They said if you invested 1 million in the Nigerian stock market, this is what it is after 2 years. If you had bought Transcorp Hilton Hotel shares, your 1 million will be worth 17.9 million naira now.
What?
If you had bought the regular Transcorp, not the hotel, it will be worth 13.5 million.
Wow.
If you had bought Julie Pharmacy, Julie PLC, 13 million. Sunu Assurance, 10.3 million. Tantalizers PLC, 10.1 million. Skyway Aviation, 9.8 million. Your 1 million naira. If you had bought Golden Guinea Breweries, 7.7 million. Let me scroll down. Ikeja Hotels, 5.7 million. If you had bought Cornwell, 5.28 million. If you had bought NACO, 4.7 million. If you had bought Etana PLC, 4.58 million. If you had bought Julius Berger, it would be 3.72 million. If you had bought Charms, it would be 4 million. You know, the list, Infinity Trust Mortgage, 4.57 million. A lot of Nigerians started calling them, and they stood their grounds because it is fact-based. So let us come to terms with one thing. And I really hope someone would disagree with me, honestly, and show me stats and facts and figures that disproves that indeed Nigeria's economy is on the up. The macro end is being tackled, and it will trickle down to the micro. It hasn't yet. We know, because we feel it too. But this made me think like, oh, more. I could have actually put something down 2 years ago. It's not 100% though. The list here is
about 300%.
The smallest you could have made was 306%.
Okay. Let me not see.
You can go look for at 30 cents on Twitter to check out what I'm talking about.
Anyway, it's interesting, but we definitely will follow all this matter. But before we leave politics, the APC, apparently there's news that dropped yesterday that said that the APC was granting automatic tickets to all National Assembly members. Yeah,
it went viral. Viral is the word that we all use now. It went everywhere, and it was coming from the on the heels of them saying that, of course, they had passed the vote of confidence in this government, which means that from the look of things, they will most likely not sell forms for the position of president.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like. And for most of the governors too, except in states where the governors are going, it will most likely be automatic, most
automatic.
likely.
However, the APC have now said nope. They never said anything like that, and there are no automatic tickets for the National Assembly. And it would have kind of been shocking if it's automatic tickets, because there's a large chunk of people.
There's a whole lot of people.
There's a large chunk of people.
Some people have been working
we're
for
looking
years for this opportunity.
Because at the end of it as well, they're also looking at people that, and it's not even about politics, people that just want to retire, that don't want to come back.
That's rare though. That's your scenario.
But it happens.
That your scenario is rare.
But it happens.
I'm not arguing with the possibility.
Understand?
I'm arguing
That's it. That's one.
With the frequency of
Two.
this occurrence.
Two, there are people in the same party that are jostling for a lot of things, and some people will feel that, okay, I think I'm more popular than this person here right now. So you know what? Let's go to primaries.
3, there will be some governors that want to go to assembly.
That was day. A lot of them that are not coming back as governors.
You know, so it's politics as usual. It's politics.
So I think that it will be very, very out of place for them to do that. Anyway, the Ondo Deputy Speaker and Majority Leader have today resigned.
Yeah, when you first hear this type of story, it ties into the stories of how some people are going to leave and join another party. Mm-hmm. But it's actually politics that's happening in Ondo. So the real scenario is that because we always do zoning of positions, so that some people do not feel left out in any government. The zoning exists at the federal. It also exists at the
state levels.
So the governor is from a particular side of Ondo, and the deputy is from another party. I think the deputy is from Owo. Now, these two people that have resigned from their principal positions are from those places. One is from the governor's side, the other is from the deputy governor's side. And for that reason, for fairness, they need to ensure that other parts of the states are represented at that level
fairly
of governance.
As well.
Remember that those were some of the things that were talked about in Lagos when the current speaker was impeached, then returned. When people started talking about how the governor and the deputy governor are from certain parts of Lagos
and the
and
speaker
this other
be
part is not represented in the top 3
Those
or
are
top 4,
very,
top
very
6.
important. It's very important, and it's not even a Nigerian thing. It happens virtually everywhere, so that makes sense. Anyway, moving a bit from politics, and let's go as Take It Back movement, and I'm guessing that Take It Back movement is Omoyele Showore's movement. It's saying that they are going on a June 12th protest.
Yeah, like they did last year, like they talked about.
They're quite synonymous with protest, so.
Yeah, and they're saying that they're going to protest. They're not interested in any ceremonies that have been planned for that day. And a little bit of context for it. June 12th is Nigeria's Democracy Day now, as pronounced by the former President Muhammadu Buhari. And June 12th used to be a day that was set aside by the Southwest because of the killing of MK Abiola, who is someone that is now confirmed to have won an election, and he never got to be president. Then he died in the process of trying to win back his mandate, and of course that led to a whole lot of things that are still affecting Nigerian politics today. When you talk about zoning and structure,
those conversations still come
and
up.
Everything, So it's a thing that the guys in the Take It Back movement are saying they're not interested in any of those government ceremonies, and they're going to hit the street. They're going to protest about killings in Plateau, Benue, and they mentioned some other parts of Nigeria. Protest against the fact that journalists are being prevented from doing their jobs, that the government is trying to gag people, and that there's a bill, there's this bill on internet expressions and everything. And all of this is why they are going to protest. Those are the things that they highlighted. And I really know that a country that doesn't have opposition or activists is a terrible country. It's not going to function. Everything will be one-sided, because you need criticism also to grow. People must learn that. However, I have a problem, and my problem is with the leader of the movement, Omoyele Showore. I feel that Amaechi is no longer an activist. I know that we can multitask, but there's a certain level of things that you get to and places you are that you start to become dubious.
Okay.
You contested to be president. You're a politician. In my books, my opinion.
So it's looking like more of like an opposition, not activism.
If you are an activist, stay on the lane of activism, so that it will not be like you are trying to use your background as an activist to empower your political ambition. That's the way it looks to me. But you're the leader of your party and the presidential candidate. You're the leader of, take it back. You're the leader of there's another one that he pushes again. More or less, like I just see.
I think that
I see a conflict of interest.
Revolution.
I see a conflict of It's still there. It's still relevant. So I see a conflict of interest, and that's what I'm saying. And this is my opinion. And this is what I strongly believe.
For me, when I saw it and I saw the statement and said that they're not interested in any events of the federal government, sorry, it might sound.
But if there's going to be a public event, are you sure they won't? If they wanted to go and be a part of it, nobody will stop them.
I get it, but did they call you? Did they give you an invitation and you declined? Meaning that there is a public event and you're not going. The way I'm not invited and I'm...
No, but they're already telling you, the organizers, whoever they are, the government, that they're not even going to be a part of it, and they're rather protest. Yeah.
But they're not. They did
but you don't know if they want to invite them.
They did not call letter.
But you don't know
carry letter and bring it.
But you don't know if they want to invite them.
I'm sure if they have, they would have posted it.
But you don't know if they were going to invite them.
They've not.
There's still time.
Okay, at least now they know that they're not going to invite you, so there's no need.
No, they didn't say they're not going to invite them.
I'm not saying don't protest.
They're saying they don't want to be invited.
My own is that caveat that if you don't want, you're not interested, nobody's inviting you. Stay, do your protest in peace.
How do you know this? That's the part that I want clarification. You're part of the organizing committees or June 12th?
I'm sure if they had invited...
You have a guest list?
These people, I'm sure that if they
I'm
were
not saying they have already... what if they were going to invite them?
And now that they know that they are not going to come, so they're not going to invite them. Anyway...
I don't know what you're saying, but...
Anyway, moving on from that, please, I also want to say that I know that, and maybe this is a very touchy subject, and I know that I've heard it once or twice that some people say that they will prefer to pass on in the Holy Land than anywhere else. So I will not be surprised if some people actually do some things purposely. Year in, year out, at least a few Nigerians you hear that pass on in Mecca. So take, for example, today, it was announced that another person, I think this is the second or third person, and Hajj has not even begun, that has not passed away. A Plateau pilgrim is said to have died in Saudi Arabia after diabetic complications. I know that in Lagos State, I think the governor had sponsored health checkups for everybody before they leave. And I think these things need to be very, very, very important. Some things, I don't think that there shouldn't be this news, because it seems like it's something that we talk about every year in, year out. It happens every year.
Well, may the soul of the people who have passed on rest in peace. I think that beyond that thought of wanting to pass on in the Holy Land, when you have a large chunk of people in a place at any given time, everything that happens to mankind will happen. You get, like they already said, that it is appointed to man to die. So I don't think at times it's necessarily because they are on a pilgrimage, but it's just basically some things that it's just something that's natural. But again, we also need to adopt the approach of taking good care of ourselves being sure of our, health status.
Okay, now let's do a bit of gist from a bit of states. One of the states is Delta State, where he was commissioning some buildings in the commissioner's complex. Apparently, there's there's the commissioners' quarters for people called commissioners now. But one thing that he said during this commissioning is saying that commissioners that are underperforming are going to be dropped very, very quickly.
Well, it's been 2 years of being a governor in Delta State. So, Governor Sharif, we use your first name with respect. I actually wonder at times when politicians make these statements. I always wonder, like, why are you saying what you should have done?
Yeah, we should have just heard the news that you have dropped.
Left to me, every 12 to 14 months, there has to be some kind of cabinet reshuffle, and there has to be some kind of checks and balance in the system, which the House should prefer with oversight functions. But however, as an executive, you are in charge, more or less, and you're like, you know that if these guys do well, it makes you look good, right? Mm-hmm. So why are you waiting? If you know there are 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 people in your government that are not doing well, why are you waiting? Kick them out. Kick them out like now.
Anyway, moving from that, and let's go to Lagos State, where Lagos State has now officially announced that anyone that is caught dumping refuse illegally or littering public places would have to pay a fine of about 250,000 naira or spend 3 months in prison.
Or both.
or both at this point. So which I think that it makes sense. And I remember there's something that we talked about here a lot. And it's not about our laws. It is updating our laws and to make it very steep.
And enforcing them. Enforce the laws. Even the old law, the existing law, enforce it first. Mm-hmm. For instance, do you know that it's criminal not to pay your PSP? You know? Do you understand? These are crimes because that means you're dumping your trash somewhere else. You know? And with the advent of the rains and all the talk about the Lagos that smells or doesn't smell, it's time government really got serious. Forget the politics of it. It's actually a truth that in most parts of Lagos, things are wrong. And one of the major issues is the activities of people. I know there was a time when they were shutting down markets in Lagos. Yeah. Have they gone back to those markets?
Yeah, I think they still shut one 2 days ago.
Maybe they should drive through
I
Mushin.
think Alaba Arago was.
I'm just suggesting. I'm just suggesting, Neil, just drive through Mushin. Just drive. Maybe on a Sunday when there's no more traffic. Just drive.
It's still those things need to be. We definitely need to look.
So, but kudos to them. I see they stepped up their game. A lot of people are getting arrested now. They have monitoring units everywhere, checking out. You know.
Yeah. How people need to realize that
the median in most Lagos streets is being treated as a trash heap. Or was it? Yeah. And it shouldn't be.
As a dumping ground.
Yeah.
It's really ridiculous. Anyway, let's move on from that quickly. Let's just go through a bit of international stories. As South Korea is now voting for a new president, you know, there's been a lot of back and forth with their former president. He was impeached. He was not impeached. The court said he was impeached. Back and forth. And officially now, they're now voting for a new president. In Turkey, however, in southwestern part of Turkey, there was a 5.8 magnitude earthquake that led to the death of 1 and 69 others getting injured.
Sad. Really sad.
Really sad on that one. Also, 3 British nationals. You would think there's only Nigerians that used to go and do what you're not supposed to do. 3 British nationals have been accused of smuggling drugs, and they're set to face death penalty in Indonesia. I said this thing before. People used to say that it's bad enough that you are committing crime in the country where you are born or you are a citizen of. You are now going to another man's country to commit crime. There's a boat that is not connecting. There's a boat that is not connecting.
Like they say, crime doesn't pay.
Anyway, moving on from that, Ukraine and Russia are set to agree to another prisoner exchange, but there's no talks of a ceasefire. Over the past 24 hours, there's a major upset from Ukraine to Russia that a lot of people have been talking about. But before we leave, let's do a bit of sports, as now 6 Super Eagles players have now withdrawn from the Russian friendly. Some have a bit of family issues, and others have now picked up various levels of injury, and the coach is now set to pick up more Nigerian-based players for these. There are quite a number of people.
Yeah, one of them,
Olaino, Wilfred Ndidi, Samuel Chukwueze, Kelechi, Sadiq Umar, and Nathan Teller.
One of them is a Nigerian player based in Russia. You know, about 6-7 years ago, he was still playing local football here in Lagos, and he's made it to the Eagles. They've invited him. I hope he gets to play. You know, because we really don't see much from the Russian league anymore, even before SEF, to be honest. And so that would be a good one. When one door closes, another one opens. Now, the thing about players is, it's a nice way of saying, I don't want to play this friendly. Apart from the really injured people, most of this family story, give my guys 24 hours or 48 hours. There are some places in Lagos that you will check.
You see that.
Boys like to rest.
After seeing how Ademola Lookman is just flexing,
and
I can bet it, Osimhen is coming back in the few. And then that's it. I say, how come I'm here?
You know, so
you know,
our boys like to chill. They have to flex,
and it's a friendly, really. Whoa.
You know, so a lot of the players who are established, check that list. You see them; they are established players. You will not hear that from any of the newbies or the upcoming guys.
Everybody wants to play. Everybody.
So
wants
those
to
ones
play.
will grab this opportunity with 2 hands.
Yeah, they need the. Anyway, before we go, French Open is really setting up some major. It's interesting, as officially Novak Djokovic has now reached his 19th French Open quarterfinal.
You know, you must give that guy a lot of kudos. He deserves it. He's worked hard for it. His staying power is unbelievable. It's unbelievable. He's an amazing guy, and I really hope he goes all the way.
Okay. Also, before we leave the issue of football, there's talks of Liverpool now getting into the mix of wanting Osimhen.
Yeah, that is picking up a lot of ground now. That talk about him going there. And if you see the way Liverpool have been operated, nothing is impossible for them to achieve. They're most likely going to let this other guy go, this disappointment of a striker.
Who? Nunes.
Yeah. And Osimhen.
But the guy used to step up all the days that he steps up.
Yeah, we hear. They didn't buy him to be stepping up on days. They bought him to step up every day. So, we know that strikers have dry spells also, and they have off days, but no, they don't have off months like he does. I'm sorry, I'm not saying it's that bad a player. Maybe he just needs a different club and a different challenge. Now, for Osimhen, it's obvious that he wants to play in England. It's very, very glaring.
It's obvious. He needs it. I think he needs it for his career.
Napoli, you know, it worked for them. You know, Osimhen left, right? Mm-hmm. It worked for them. They ended up still winning. And so they would rather cash in on him, and maybe use the money to get other players. The talks of them wanting a player swap with another club is a whole lot. But Osimhen wants to play in England, and is going to go. Arsenal have cooled interest more or less. If you follow the top Arsenal reporters, they'll tell you Sesko is the most important guy that they are going after. There's no more talk about Isak anymore anywhere. You know, Newcastle.
Yeah, I think Newcastle said they're not even selling anymore now.
So there's no talk about him. And sadly, they can't get the players that they want. They wanted Cunha. Is going to United.
He's now
they wanted Mbomo. Mbomo has more or less agreed to go to United also. So I was watching a video, and Newcastle fans are livid. They're angry. Like, why would you go to a team that finished 15th? While we are in the top 5, you know,
money now.
It's not money. There's some things. Newcastle is the richest club in England, if you want to know.
Yeah.
I don't think it's money. There are some things that happens that motivates people beyond money. There are some players that, like one or two people that actually came to Arsenal, but people who actually wanted to
They
play
just
for Arsenal.
wanted to play
You get?
for. Yeah, I get. I get your
Mbomo
point.
happens to be a United fan.
I get the point.
You
but
get- so if you
and
look
I
at it-
get the fans as well, because the truth is that for
Bruno
Newcastle,
Fernandes.
you will get to play European football.
Bruno Fernandes
Yeah,
says he's not living.
he's not
anymore.
living. Yeah, I heard
If it's
that.
about money, do you understand?
True.
Do you
In
know how
fact, I would
do
have.
you know how much he was supposed to earn? About 2,100
Yeah,
per minute.
I even think that anybody that still has a career to push, wherever you are playing in the Premier League or in the major leagues, yeah, I think that for you to want to go to Saudi is a matter of you're at the end of your career.
But Dolupo, when you calculate these monies, when
it
someone
will turn your head, Abi.
Wait now.
It will scatter your brain.
So the highest you earn in England is 200 and something thousand pounds a week, and they want to give you 750, 800.
it could scatter
That's
your
time
brains
4 in a week.
It's true. That matter, like, okay.
So
Is career really important?
a guy that will most
His
likely get maybe
career.
£1 million a month is going to get £3 to £4 million a month.
You don't think about it. Is
Tax
career
free.
Is career really important?
Tax free.
What's the point of career? Money.
So it's not. So it's not money that has made these guys
Anyway,
take
that's
these
what I'm saying.
decisions.
So at times,
That's my
it's really
point.
about your career and what you want at the end of the
It's
day.
about passion also.
Anyway, on that note, that is all we take today on the bar. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. We'll be back again tomorrow at 3 p.m. West African time to give you another wonderful edition of the Boom Bar. Do have a beautiful, beautiful day ahead.